it's Jessie. Today on the Infertility Feelings podcast, I am going to be the interviewer, if you will. Just call me Oprah. And I'm going to be interviewing someone. This someone is an expert in all things anxiety, what it feels like to experience anxiety, and we are going to talk about what's it like to be an anxious person and experience infertility. We had to search high and low for this expert. We flew him in. We got him here. He said yes. Thank goodness. So without further ado, our expert of the hour is...
me!
Is Doug Brown.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We had to fly you in here. Is your accommodations okay? Your hotel accommodations,
Yes.
are they okay?
Yes, you know,
Did you have only yellow M&Ms or whatever you had to say that you needed to be on our podcast today?
I'd like to thank the Infertility Feelings podcast for flying me out and being here. It's an honor to be here with you all.
It's the least we could do because we needed an expert on what this feels like.
I'm happy to be the expert.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Would you say that you are an expert on anxiety and what it feels like as a human being? You're not saying that you have your doctorate in anxiety or you've studied anxiety. It's more that you just are an expert in having anxiety.
What a wonderful thing to be an expert in.
What a wonderful
We're not
thing.
saying you know what you're talking about. We're just saying that you've been anxious for a really long time. Yeah. No, yeah.
So
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it
I
is.
mean, we've had episodes where we have psychologists who specialize in anxiety, but we were thinking about this episode and it's so important. And we wanted to talk about what it's like to be an anxious person and go through infertility. And
Yeah.
we had to look no further than right here.
Look no further
Right.
than Doug Malcolm Brown. So we're doing.
What an honor.
I think a lot of people in our groups are already anxious people. And so we hear about this a lot. And I think I said out loud, man, I'd love to interview someone on what it feels like to be already an anxious person and then to be put in an anxiety provoking situation. And you were like, I could do it. And I was
Right.
like, why didn't I think of you? Hello.
What happened is Jessie targeted me. She was like, we need to do this and you're anxious. So you're going to be the guest. I guess, am I a guest? I'm going to be a guest today.
You're going to be a guest. You wore your suit coat with your hat, your matching denim on denim. Is it denim on denim? What is that?
It's not denim.
What is
ladies
it?
and gentlemen. This is just, I don't know, not
Close.
denim. I don't know.
No, it's blue on blue.
Yeah, but what fat when it's just regular
Cotton.
fabric? Yeah, it's cotton.
Cotton on cotton. But
The
it's blue.
fabric
of
our lives.
Anxiety, the cripplingness of our lives.
Anxiety, the fabric of my life.
So to cut to the chase, I'm trying to figure out a more creative way to ask this question, but I don't think there is a more creative way to ask this question. What does it feel like to be an anxious person, already struggle with anxiety, and then you meet infertility? What is that experience like?
Well, can I answer that question in a really weird, unique, very me sort of way? Please say no. What if she said no?
Of course you can. I wouldn't expect anything less really at this point.
Okay. To answer that question, I feel like I just want to spend a little bit of time on talking about anxiety in general. Is that okay? Can we start there?
Yes, we can start there. Are you asking it's your interview.
I guess, yeah, it's true. I get to do whatever I want. Anxiety in general. I think that's a good place to start because I was thinking about how to answer that question. What's it like to be an anxious person, go through infertility? It's very difficult. But I was also thinking, I don't know how to explain that unless I can explain what, for me, how I understand anxiety and where it came from. What is it? And it will kind of give us some categories to figure out how to talk about that. Is that okay?
Yes.
Why do I keep asking for permission?
I don't know. I'm like, yes, whatever you want.
Okay. Do you know where the word anxiety came from?
No. Oh, wait, that was on Final Jeopardy last night.
Anxiety is an old topic, but it's not that old.
Are
Probably
you
the
saying wait, are you saying people in Bible times weren't anxious?
no, I'm saying that the concept that we have of anxiety is not that old. It like the like psychological sort of like condition that we consider anxiety like sort of came about during like Freud and like modern psychology that we sort of named it at that time. But people were talking about that feeling for a long time
Okay.
and but still not even that long. So
Yeah.
I want to go back to, and this is my background in philosophy, a philosopher named Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard talked about a word that was angst, which translates into anxiety. He talked
It's
about
funny, angst more sounds anger to me.
yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's
Like
more
you're
like associated
angsty,
with, yeah, angsty, like
but
like a teenager.
that's a little bit like the feeling that he was going after, like this internal angst, which is I'm going to talk about three categories that I think are all a part of anxiety. The first one is what I would consider part of being a person, like what it just means to be a human. And this is Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard said that anxiety, this angst, like the concept of anxiety, comes from the concept of what it means to be a person, which is that the future is completely unknown. He talks about like going up to a very tall height and like looking down off this cliff. It's almost this dizziness of freedom that you're up on this cliff and it's not that you could, oh my gosh, I could fall off. It's that you could jump off. And it's like that's what's scary. It's like, oh my gosh, someone could push me off. There's like
Mm.
this unknown part of what it means to be alive, and that is like the for him the core of anxiety. So I just think anxiety, some people are concerned with, like some people that bugs them, and I think that's a very human thing of like
Wait, what bugs them?
it just gets at them, the unknownness of the future, the
Oh,
like
okay.
the dizziness of the freedom that the future could be this or it could be that like we don't know what will happen. Kierkegaard talks about how the future is scary because you could be this thing or you could not be this thing. You could be or you could not be. Like you could live or
Is
you
that
could
where to
die.
be to not to be or whatever that quote is from?
No,
We
that's
don't.
not where that's Shakespeare, but now
That's
that's
it,
not where
that's
it's
it,
coming
that's it. Shakespeare. That's right.
from.
Wrong philosopher. Do you call Shakespeare a philosopher?
I mean you could, but no, that's Hamlet. Hamlet says that.
Forgive me.
Hamlet though is talking about the anxiety though of like indecision. Like what should I do? Will this happen or will this not happen? That's where that to be or not to be comes from.
Mm.
But I think that's sort of at the heart of it is like, what will the future look like? If there's this thing of freedom and the future could be anything, that means the future could also be nothing. And that sort of anxiety, that angst is in the heart of what it means to be alive. So I think that's like the first concept of anxiety that I feel like is an important thing for me that I actually do take into consideration, that like some people, I think not everyone thinks about the future that way, but for me I think about the future that way. It's sort of
Mm.
dizzying, if that's a word. Like it
Not
does kind,
grounding.
yeah,
You're not
it
grounded in the
does get to
future.
me, like what will happen in the future? Like it could
Right.
be anything.
Right.
This could happen, this could not happen. When we were starting Uniquely Knitted, like in this podcast, like will it work? Will it not work, you
Right.
know?
And I'm sure super helpful in that. I'm like, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be fun. First, it's gonna be fun.
Right, and that's like looking at the future being like everything will be good,
Yeah.
and then I go, but if everything can be good, that means everything cannot be good, and that sort of unknown of the future is core to what it means to be a person. Like that the future is unknown. That's the first part.
Got it.
The second part is I would say, and there's a lot of good research about this, that there's a certain, if it's part of being human is the Kierkegaard stuff. I think there's also just part of being you. And I think there is a lot of good research that says some people come off the factory line, like they're just born a little bit more anxious. They're just
Mm.
their
Like that is
anxiety.
actually
Yeah. Yeah.
statistically proven. Sorry. That is like some people are just born a little bit more anxious.
Yeah, there's a really great research study and project about highly reactive people, like high reactive people who are just, their nervous systems are just a little bit more finely tuned to danger, to um, stimulus and things like that. Like we're just
Kind of like more like sometimes like a highly sensitive person.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like there are people who are just like that noise that maybe someone just tunes out. They're like, what was that? You know?
Right.
Someone walks in the room and they're a little bit more geared towards like reacting in a certain way. And they've studied that people like are literally like that. That,
Just born.
they're just born like that. There's not anything that really conditions them to be like that. That there are, in under the same circumstances, someone can be a little bit more highly anxious and then someone's not. And they're both sort of under the same circumstances. People maybe kind of debate how much of it is truly just how you were born.
Right.
And then
like nature versus nurture kind of thing.
Yeah. But I do think that there's good research that says there are people who are just a little bit more highly anxious. So I think who you are is like a huge part of anxiety too.
Right.
Because sometimes I would say that I am an anxious person. Like I'm a more anxious person. And I would say
Hence
that there's
why we brought you here.
I would say that there is a part of that it's just kind of who I am. It's just sort of in my DNA. I'm a more reactive, sensitive, highly reactive person.
You more of the future, think glass half empty kind of thing, which that was you like that qualification.
I don't know about that's more like pessimistic.
Yeah.
I'm talking about just I'm more tuned into what's going on, and I'm more highly sensitive to think like, oh, that could go wrong, or that, and you just kind of like, I'm just tuned into what's going on in my life and in the room and in circumstances and stuff. I'm definitely not one of those people who like, you come home and you're like, your shoe is like the tongue of your shoe has been like flipped inside out and it's just been bent all day, which is so you. Jesse will come home and I'll be like, Jesse, like the collar of her like this. If you can like are on video, it'll be like this all day. And she'll come home and I'll be like, what? How do you not feel that?
No, I think one time you said, how do you live like you? What is this? I will totally the tongue. Yep.
Like a collar of your jacket just flipped inside out all day. And I'm like, how do you not notice that,
No, notice it.
Okay, so that's the second category. The third category I would say is probably the more traditional category, which is it's a part of your history. Anxiety can come from a part of your history. And I think that's probably what most people think of is the people who raised you, the circumstances that you were raised in,
the culture you were raised in,
the traumas that happened to you, the up and down nature of your life.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most commonly understood way of, thinking about anxiety, which that has an interesting history too, as well. I love this idea. It's sad because it's horrible, but it just seems so old timey to me. It makes me kind of laugh is, during the Civil War, they noticed that soldiers after the Civil War were what?
Anxious. Little stressed out, I would say.
Like literally, I mean, like I can't think of something more traumatic to go through, right? Sure. And they had this thing, I think I'm saying it right. They called it DaCosta's syndrome. Basically, like a doctor had noticed people acting a certain way, and he said that they have nervous hearts or something like that. Basically, they're describing like hearts. Clear anxiety symptoms or PTSD symptoms, or like they had just gone through hell. And then a doctor's like, oh, you seem to have a nervous heart. And it's like, what?
Yeah, it does seem like cute or almost juvenile. Like, what?
It just seems so old timey to me.
Yeah, it does seem old timey.
Like,
so he was trying to probably
he seems to be suffering from the tremors of the heart. It's just like, yeah.
Right.
You just saw all your family and friends be killed.
Yes.
You just went through battle. And then, like a pot falls in the kitchen and you're like, ah.
Right.
Like he's got the nervous trembles.
Right.
Like, it's just so funny to think about that. That's where I say like, it's not that old, if that makes sense. Like some of what we consider to be so normal, not even that long ago, people were like, that's weird. You seem to be like a nervous heart.
Right. Right.
It had no language for something like anxiety.
Right.
Kierkegaard was even before that though, talking about this like angst of like, oh, I feel this like angst about what will the future happen. Then you have these people who are just more nervous people, more anxious people. Then you have these horrors that happen to us as growing up. Then it's like Freud, who he talks about anxiety. He brings up Kierkegaard angst, but it's more in the category of like, here's a set of things that we see in people who have quote unquote anxiety. Then you have like the DSM-5 stuff and the most updated versions of it. It basically becomes a list of here's these things that if you are displaying these things, then you could be considered having anxiety. Does that make sense?
Yes. Per my last email, what does it feel like to struggle with infertility and be more of an anxious person? Thank you for all that. The history.
Within that last category, there's one more distinction I want to make. Then I'm going to get to your question. I promise.
Perfect.
I think even in that last category of like what has happened to you, psychologists and therapists also distinguish between this person has almost like an anxiety disorder now, or this person is in an anxiety provoking situation. Kind of like the differentiation between climate and weather, if that makes sense. Like it can be cloudy one day, but that doesn't mean the climate of that area is always cloudy. Does that make sense? Think about like
I don't think I've ever thought about climate and weather being two separate things.
Think about like if you lived on the equator, it's always hot. That's the climate of the equator. It's a hot climate, right?
Right.
But if you live somewhere like northern of that, like in New York, it's not always hot. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's snowy.
Right.
But there are days where it's hot for sure. But you wouldn't say it's hot in New York today. The climate of New York is mid 80s hot. Like, no, it changes.
Right.
I think that's true that people try to distinguish between with anxiety too, of someone can be an anxious person and that's like their climate. Like they are an anxious person. And because of what's happened to them, they almost have an anxiety disorder. Maybe they have like a lot of tools to manage their anxiety. Maybe medication is part of those tools. But then there's also people who are just going through an anxious situation. Like it's finals or there's a big project due at work and this is anxiety provoking. We have to present in the boardroom coming up. And so it's really complicated in all of that. And that like there's anxious situations.
Right.
There's anxious people.
Well, in our previous podcast with Dr. Annie Ganal, who is a psychologist
and specializes in
anxiety. I think she did a really good job. It's a few episodes back. You'd have to like scroll back, but she I feel like did a good job. And I feel like it helped me actually a lot in the moment recording this podcast with her of like, what's the difference between stress and anxiety? Like,
right.
And I would say I probably more have stress with anxiety situations come up than I am an anxious person.
Yes.
I would say. And I would say you are an anxious person and deal with it with anxiety too. And it's more anxious. Like there's a difference between stress and anxiety.
Yeah. Anxiety being like a lot of what ifs about the future. But also I would say that there are times that are just more anxiety provoking.
Sure.
You know, like a non-anxious person can encounter infertility and feel a lot of anxiety about the future.
Yes. I did.
What we're talking about in this episode, though, is if you're already an anxious person and you get hit with infertility. The reason I brought up those three is because it's not enough just to say, oh, yeah, infertility triggers your anxiety. Because maybe if you are an anxious person, you've thought about those things that I've said. I feel like those three categories actually really help me because the first one is just what it means to be a person.
Right.
You know?
Like it's normal.
It's just like to be a person is to not know what's going to happen in the future. Like we literally don't know the future.
Right.
And then it's also like some people come into the world just a little more anxious, you know? And then there's nothing you can do about that. Like your nervous system is tuned to that. And then ultimately the things that have happened to you when you were younger, you don't have any control over either.
Right.
So it's just like, if those are three really good categories to think about anxiety, now we can talk about infertility because infertility to me messed with each of those categories individually. Does that make sense why I brought it up?
Yes.
Just
And why it might be hard.
why I did what I did.
I wish you just said I brought up those 3 points because I wanted to. That's what I wanted to do. No,
the three, no, they really did mess with me in those three categories.
Yeah.
The first one, the this being human one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what on earth? Like as a human, you come into the world thinking that I will live a certain life and like have these things that happen to me and like everything will be okay. And when we want to have kids, we'll have kids.
Right.
And infertility was like an atom bomb to that, just blew up that whole system.
Right.
I was like, well, I already kind of felt this dizziness about the future. What will it be? And now I don't even know. Like now it's more dizzy than ever before. Like I was standing on a high dive and then I just went like 10 stories up looking down at the water being like, uh-oh. Like, well, now I'm really dizzy because I do not know what the future will look like.
Right.
The second one being just being a little bit more of like an anxious person. Infertility is anxiety provoking. Like even in the way that it is, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
you don't get a lot of information. It's not a cut and dry sort of situation. You go in
Not knowing the future.
not knowing the future, but even then it's like, okay, we're going to do this internal ultrasound. We'll see what we find. You're like waiting for results
Right.
and then you like do it like maybe like an analysis and you're sort of like checking your phone or checking your chart and you're like, so in and of itself, it's anxiety provoking. So if you're more just like baked as a anxious person, it's not a system that helps you. Like you're like that, it hits you square in
Mm.
the face
Like
in that.
probably if you were an anxious person and you had to interact with something like that, but you could not, your
Yeah.
therapist would probably tell you, probably not a good idea to interact with that being a more of an anxious person. And you
Right.
have to interact with it if you want this, if you want to get pregnant or whatever it is, you have to interact with it.
Right. I truly think that things in life can be difficult, but not necessarily very anxious, you know?
Mm. You mean
Running,
anxiety provoking.
yeah, not anxiety provoking. Like something can be difficult to me, but not anxiety provoking. Running a marathon would be really difficult. I'm not a very good runner, and it would be really hard to do.
Yes.
I don't know if it would necessarily be anxiety provoking.
Mm.
Even like school to me wasn't very anxiety provoking. It was
Mm.
hard and very like studying and passing class. It was hard and it was difficult, but not that anxiety provoking. If you did the work and you studied, you kind of did okay, you
Mhm.
know?
If anything, you were just tired
Yeah.
because you were like stressed out about it.
Yeah.
But stressed about like doing the paper and finishing it and finding the time.
But just not very anxiety provoking. Like the
Yeah.
what ifs of like, well, what if I don't study? It's like, well, yeah, then you won't pass. Just study. Like
Right.
it just felt more simple. This is like, it felt like like a sort of demented casino, where you're like going in, you're like putting in $1,000 bill into the slot machine, going like, I hope that you pull the thing and nothing happens, and you're like, what? Like that is anxiety provoking. So
Yes.
that's sort of
But that moment,
the nature of it was just anxiety provoking for someone who's already anxious.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
and the crank of when you're waiting to see if you actually won or struck the sevens or whatever could be 6 months. You know what I mean? It could not just be like 30 seconds like it is
Right.
on the machine or whatever. It could be
Yeah.
so long.
So it's not, as an anxious person, it's not that it was difficult. It was that it particularly played on the anxiety. Specifically, if I can be as tangible as possible, waiting for results. You're always waiting for results.
Mm.
You're peeing on a stick. You're waiting for the thing. Is there 2 lines? Is there 1 line? That is just so anxiety provoking.
Mhm.
Because it is a what if? What if it doesn't work? What if it
And
doesn't
it's
work?
wrapped into the biggest what if. What
Right.
if we can't have kids? That's the
Which-
biggest what if ever.
Then goes to that first one, which is very existential. Every little tiny what if played a part in this big what if of like, well, what's the future going to look like? So it was just like a
It's
1-2
almost
punch.
like running away from what ifs and you can't.
Yeah, and I think it does that to everyone.
Yes. I
But
agree.
if you're already an anxious person and you're sort of tuned for anxiety, it feels like you're underwater pretty quickly, pretty quickly. Like
What does being underwater feel like that?
totally helpless. Like there's nothing you can do. You just feel totally helpless. And then the last one, what's kind of happened to you, your history. I think infertility plays on that a ton too as well.
Yes.
Because it brings up all your old traumas.
It loves to do that. It loves to do that.
Yeah. So if you have a lot of anxiety, because some people have anxiety in all 3 of these categories, and I think,
Would you say that is you?
yeah,
Yes,
I
I
think
would say
that's
that's you.
most people. Like if you're an anxious person, you probably, these 3 categories resonate with you,
Do you think people are surprised that you have anxiety?
Me?
Yeah.
Do I look like I have anxiety?
I'm sure some people are like, yeah.
Yes. I'm like shaking and like
Right.
twitching. And,
Right. No.
yeah. I don't know. No. I think a lot of,
I know. I was
a
just
lot of
thinking
like the
about that with
persona
you.
that I put out in the world is that I'm like, don't have anxiety, or that I'm not a very anxious person. But then when people get to know me, they're like, you're kind of high strung.
Yeah. A nicer way to put it.
Yes.
You've heard neurotic, not as nice. But I think, right. It's
Some people use the word neuroses.
Yeah, neuroses.
But yes, yeah, like especially when I was in high school, like driving a VW van, surfing,
Yeah.
and then
Artsy,
just like
skater.
stressed about stuff.
Right. Right.
But I also think I do an okay job of managing anxiety.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. That's
Yeah.
from Jesse.
Uh-huh.
my wife.
Sure.
Uh,
No, I think
I just want, before we move on, I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to say infertility does play on your past traumas. Like, like if you've had some kind of, if you've had sexual trauma,
Yep,
and then, and that
100%.
does give you like an anxiety about
That's
intimacy.
probably in infertility where I got anxiety the most because I had sexual trauma.
Yeah.
So that was where it showed up the most for me.
Yeah.
Waiting wasn't as bad. Wasn't as bad. I mean, waiting on our one embryo to see if I was pregnant, 2-week wait, not good.
Right.
But I would say that was probably the pinnacle of it. But yeah, that's where my mind would come out, is kind of in that area. But waiting, taking shots, more of the unknowns, that wasn't as hard for me. Because I
Yeah.
think I'm not as prone of an anxious person. I'm not trying to sound like I'm like better than anyone. I just don't
Jesse
think.
has her own problems,
Yeah,
everyone. Don't we're not talking about you today, okay?
Exactly.
You're not in the hot seat today.
Exactly. You can put me in the hot seat next time. It's fine. You can. You can.
But if you have intimacy anxiety,
Yeah.
and that's something you're managing, about, and you're
Mhm.
thinking about it, you're already maybe a little bit more of an anxious person.
Mhm.
And then someone's like, all right, we need you to have sex on these days at this time. And then we'll come in and do an internal ultrasound. You're like, whoa, that's a lot.
Yes.
In,
Yes.
like I
In
said,
that area.
very quickly, you're just underwater. You feel
Right.
helpless. Like there's nothing you
Right.
can do, and you are struggling. And it's even more anxiety provoking. Like a lot of the anxiety symptoms are like you're worrying, you have trouble sleeping, you can't
Yeah.
concentrate
Depressed.
for most of the day, most of the days of the week. And you know, when you're going through something like infertility, it does become most of the day for most of the days of the week that you are worried
Yeah.
and can't sleep and you're struggling and you're thinking about the future and it's hard to calm down. Maybe when you're not going through infertility, it's more manageable. But then now when you're waiting for finding out if you're pregnant, it's like, yeah, it's most of the day for most days of the week.
Right. I know. I was just going to say, how did that play out for you? Like for
Mm.
Doug Brown in the middle of our infertility journey, like describe what is happening in your body on a day-to-day basis or your thoughts.
It feels exhausting. It feels like I can't keep up. I can't keep it up, like I can't keep up this like energy that it takes to try to focus on everything my body wants to focus on. I want to think about everything. I want to focus on everything. I'm thinking about all the possibilities, and my not only like, so like the root of the word anxiety, is like a narrowing. Like that's the Greek concept. It actually was a physiological thing before it was a psychological thing. So
like, this
yeah,
is happening in your
people
body.
would talk about like a narrowing. So like a narrowing of the throat. Like that's, I think, old school people used to think like, oh, you have a narrowing of the throat. Back in like
These words.
in the Greek times, like, like no one knew how to talk about emotions. They thought emotions were put in your brain by the gods. We don't have to talk about that right now. But they would say, oh, I think when someone was feeling anxious, they would say, oh, the gods are, or he's having a narrowing of the throat. Cause you were like, I can't breathe.
Right.
I'm
Like panic
it's
attack.
like a panic attack. They would say, oh, his throat is narrowing.
But I get it what you're saying. It was more of a
I think
physical thing.
so I think like that still holds though. There is like this narrowing of your capacity.
Yeah.
Like I'm breathing through a straw. Sometimes physically, but mentally too. Like I'm
Right.
mentally thinking through a straw. Like I can't get my thoughts. I can't focus, and I'm at work and my brain is just screaming to me about go research this thing, go look up this thing, think about this. You better like go to the worst case scenario and get comfortable with it as quick as possible because like even that, like taking a breath just feels like, whoa, I need to calm down. Like that
Right.
just feels hard to do. And again, most of the day, most days of the week. It's like that for a month.
Right.
Oh,
Month. And that was like,
imagine living like
10
that for a
years of
month
our
though. But imagine
journey.
living like that for a month. Like you
Right.
would get to a point where you're like,
I'm exhausted from
white
this.
flag,
Right.
white flag. Like I cannot keep going. I think that's for most people who struggle with anxiety, who encounter infertility, you just get run over pretty quickly and you're like,
Yeah.
I can't keep doing it. I have to do something different.
I
And
feel
then,
like
yeah.
I feel like the way that you're describing it kind of, I feel like plays out in our relationship too. Like, I feel like I was like, aren't you sad? Don't you want to grieve? And you're like, I'm sorry? I'm working on my narrowing of the throat.
Yeah. My throat is narrowing.
Yeah, my
okay?
throat is narrowing. Like, it's so funny. Like, looking back, I'm like, I was so like just wallowing in self-pity and sadness and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I feel like I would try to meet you in it and be like, aren't you sad? And I feel like you said so many things of like, I remember like after we decided to walk away from trying to grow our kids naturally, sounds so weird, having biological children and going into adoption. I remember like it was like months to maybe a year later,
Yeah.
year and a half maybe, where you looked at me, we were sitting on the couch, you paused the show that we were watching and you looked at me and you go, we can't have biological kids. And I was like, Doug, welcome. I'm like, welcome, welcome to it. You know what I mean?
That's like,
But
that's how
I'm
long it took for me to catch a breath and go,
right.
oh my gosh. And the thoughts started to flow more freely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm looking at it through a different angle now. I feel like even in this podcast, we've talked about like how we grieve differently. And now the way that you just described it, I'm like, I don't think we grieve differently. I don't think you grieved.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because I don't
Yeah.
think that you were able to. How you were just describing it, I think like the narrowing of the throat, and I love how you said, because I feel like I've heard people say this in our groups too, a screaming. My brain is screaming. Research this, look up this, whatever. Like you're fighting almost a different voice than I am. I don't
Yeah.
have a voice when we're in anxiety provoking situations. I do sometimes, but like not a screaming voice
Yeah.
that's like distract from what you're doing, distract to what you're doing, only focus on this, solve, because you're probably trying to solve the what if.
Yeah.
And then that almost in turn, do you feel like that makes it worse?
Yeah. And it's all internal.
Yeah.
Like I think about those people after the Civil War where they're
Mhm.
like, oh, you seem to have a nervous heart.
Right.
You're like, yeah, it's because I'm sitting here at the dinner table, but I'm not at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm choking, like I can't breathe
Yeah.
mentally or even sometimes physically. Like I'm anxious about what's going to happen in the future. And again, in those three ways, it's existential. It feels biological that like I'm just like overstimulated and can't stop thinking. And then also it's playing on all of my history. It just feels like you're like trapped, can't get out of it. Like I've looked back on like journals and stuff that you would write at that time, and the overarching theme over and over and over is I feel helpless, helpless, helpless. If I could do something about it, I would, but I just feel trapped by
Yeah.
anxiety.
And probably grief for you also feels anxiety provoking.
All of
Because
it. Yeah.
grief is, would you say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like grief is almost anxiety provoking of like, wait, there's still stuff that I could think about. There's still what ifs that we haven't crossed off. Like grief feels like a little bit more final, even though I don't think it has to be. But it feels, does that
Yeah.
make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think grief is
Like grief
hard to
almost
do.
feels anxiety provoking for an anxious person.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes.
I think it can. I also think anxiety is very instinctual and like root to what it means to be a person. So I hear what you're saying, and you're like, you should grieve, you should do this.
I didn't say that.
I'm not saying
I just said I observed. But no, and I said I observed that it was hard for you to grieve. And I'm seeing it this way and thinking it probably even grieving is anxiety provoking.
Yeah, I would say you're just trapped. Grief might be something that would be really good, but you're
Right.
sort of like vibrating, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in Inside Out 2, when they introduced that like anxiety character,
Yes.
and like all the other emotions are screaming, and they're just like hands on the controls, and it's just like,
Yes.
you're sort of like in that, like you grabbed
I remember
live,
you didn't love that movie
you
because you were
grabbed,
like, that was a little too real.
but like it's like you grabbed live wires, and you're like,
Yeah.
and your brain is just it's flooded, and you're like, so just grieve. Or like, I know grief can be anxiety provoking. You're like, do you think that I can hear you right now?
Right.
Like I can't hear you.
I can't even hear me.
Yeah, it is that like I'm choking to get breath. And then yeah, other people are like, why don't you do this? And you're like, I can't even breathe.
Right.
So it almost feels like, yeah, it feels so base to who you are. Like it feels like my very insides are stuck, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
In those categories of like, it's triggering everything inside of me. And like again, most of the day, most days of the week, that just wears you down. I thought of a
Right.
good analogy.
We really need a jingle. I really want a jingle for your analogies, and the video to like stop. And it to be like jingle or analogy time with Doug. Ding. But
Kind of like a Mr. Rogers sort of thing.
what?
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I know. I know who Mr. Rogers is. I don't remember that.
Like when he like comes in and sits down and puts his shoes on.
Does it ever pause?
I don't know. I don't know.
I was thinking like a little stop of like, and then it was a jingle. It's fine. Getting off topic. Continue. You thought of your analogy.
I apologize. My analogy is a sports analogy.
Here we go again.
The worst. But I thought about it like this. Okay, I'm going to describe two basketball players, okay? Because it's the NBA finals right now, or it's near the finals. I don't know if you know that.
Like all girls know.
Or I don't know. Do people care about basketball? Anyways, two basketball players. First basketball player, Shaquille O'Neal. Most people know Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes.
He's a massive human being.
It's funny. I say that and I love basketball.
Yeah, you do.
I know, I do.
On the Lakers, Shaquille O'Neal, in my opinion, in his prime, he's 7'1", so 7 feet 1 inch tall, and he's 325 pounds. Like that's a man in his prime, very athletic. And if he's like, I'm going to walk over there and you're in his way, I'm pretty sure you have a hard time doing that, right? You're not gonna be able to stop him.
Yeah.
Another phenomenal basketball player is Steph Curry. Steph Curry is 6'2". He's about my height, 1 inch taller than me. And he's 185 pounds, right? So that's a big person. That's a tall person. Steph Curry's elite basketball player. If Steph Curry got matched up on Shaquille O'Neal down right below the basketball hoop, someone would say that's a mismatch, right? It's just a mismatch. Who Steph Curry is, even though he's phenomenally skilled,
and that's not his game,
and a great basketball player, and it's not his game. He's a 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
He's not like a defender under the basketball, under the hoop. And then you have Shaquille O'Neal, who's like backing back down, and you have Shaquille O'Neal's 7'1", 325-pound frame coming towards you, and you're only 6'1". You're literally a foot shorter and like almost 100 pounds lighter. Like there's not much you're going to be able to do to stop that, right? Someone would say that's a mismatch, and Shaq's going to score. Like he's going to destroy you.
Right.
You're going to try to stop him, but it's not going to work. We saw it when he was on.
Yes.
When he played, like
Hack-a-Shaq.
You would like he would get in a position and you're like, well, that person's screwed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what I feel like.
They hack-a-shacked him because that was the only thing they could do to stop him.
Exactly, right? They created a rule for Shaq that was specifically created because what they did to him.
Yes.
They would foul him so much in the fourth quarter because you couldn't stop him.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. That to me is the perfect analogy of sometimes if you're an anxious person who's working to manage their history and what's happened to them, your nervous system is a little bit more tuned to be anxious. You just have that anxiety of being a person, and then infertility comes in. That's like Shaq just walked in and you're like,
crap.
Like this is a mismatch. 100%. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know what else to say besides that's a mismatch. I don't like someone could say, okay, let's show you how to handle this. You might be like, I don't know. I'm probably going to get scored on right now. Like I'm probably going to get dunked on in the face.
Right.
You know?
Right.
In basketball, they say like you got posterized. Is that, you ever heard of that?
Yeah. It's like you're on a poster.
Like someone's going to put you on a poster because the person just dunked over your face and you're like, and you just got destroyed. Like I kind of felt like that when we got some of those initial tests back about fertility. I was just like, I'm about to get dunked on so hard right now.
Right.
And there's nothing I can do about it. Like I knew there was nothing I can do about it. And it totally sucked. And it really hurt.
And I think
that's my analogy. Is just like, cause I'm like, realize that we are like in the mental health space and maybe that's bad advice. Like maybe that's a hard thing to hear of like, oh, so if you're telling me I'm an anxious person, that infertility I'm screwed. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying for me, that's what it felt like though. Was that like,
we're going to talk about what can we do about
kind of felt like I'm about to get dunked on. And it's possible that you're going to get dunked on if you're an anxious person. Like, and if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably like, yeah,
right.
I've already been dunked on. Like, I know I already got like elbowed to the head. I know what's like, I feel it already.
Right.
But that's what it felt like to me. It was like, as an anxious person, I just felt like it was a mismatch. Like, well, this is a mismatch.
Yeah.
It's about to mess me up.
I feel like living with you in our growing of our family season, which was probably 9 years long,
Yeah.
10 years long. It just was like, I could just looking back now and looking back that you were literally like, your anxiety was Shaquille O'Neal just dumping on you.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like you were very
I
ever.
said dunking, not dumping. So just want to clear that up.
Did I say dumping?
I think you just said dumping. I don't think I want Shaquille O'Neal.
Dunking, excuse me. Dunking on you. I think for me, outside observer, you just didn't seem very grounded. It just didn't seem like a very
No,
like
not at all.
right. A very grounded experience, which is sad. Which is totally sad. Like I mean
Yeah.
that in like a compassionate way of not like a you weren't grounded. It's like I feel like it's like that's what I experienced with you. It's almost like a little bit like you're not there.
Yeah.
It's like you have that screaming voice in your head. So almost for me to like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like I would almost have to scream. You know,
Yeah.
to get you to not that you were like absent or something, because I felt very like we were in it together.
And I think it's like
And also,
anxiety
I was
sometimes.
a mess. I was an absolute mess. I don't know if I could even like. I look back, like I was telling you to grieve and like whatever, but it's like I was a mess. I was an absolute shit show. Like I was only self-consumed by grief. Like you went anxious, I went grief. Like I
Yeah.
went like self-pity and like my world sucks or whatever. Like I paint myself like I was like the grieving one, like in therapy, which I was, but I also am like I was such a shit show, just in a completely different way.
Yeah. And like with all mental health stuff, sometimes it's most of the day, most days of the week, which
Yeah.
means that there were times where I was not anxious.
Exactly.
There's times
Exactly.
where we were like, I don't know, like go
Yeah.
to the beach or just
Right,
go to the
right.
movies, just whatever. There
Right.
was normal life in there.
Right.
But if I were to look back, I would say, yeah, like probably like 3 or 4 days this week. And on those days, like most of the day, I was really anxious.
Yeah.
So it's just
It's
like
funny, I think-
wears you down over time.
Yeah.
And you feel helpless. You feel like, how do I get out of this? And all this stuff of like, grieve, do this, do this, do this. You just feel like I'm like locked up. I'm locked up. Like I'm hands on live wires. Like,
So this is very apropos, uniquely knitted, which only we can do. Is how does that feel then to think back of like something that you struggle with is anxiety.
yeah,
And during our infertility journey, that was like poked and prodded and screaming at you
yeah.
and gave you so many opportunities to be more anxious. How does that feel looking back? And then how does it feel now? Like, what does that feel like to look back?
Yeah.
Like, say something.
You're telling me be emotional, is what you're saying?
Say something emotional, Doug.
On the Infertility Feelings podcast, have some feelings.
Have some feelings.
Well, the first thing I'll say is that I do think that is a problem when you are anxious. It's hard to let other feelings in.
Yeah.
So you don't really feel feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just anxious, like sadness and grief and all those things are right there. Like, do you want to feel me? And you're like, I can't feel anything. I'm just I'm just thinking about the future. So I think really it's only like when you come out of that anxiety that you can go, oh, I think I am feeling these other things. I think do have a lot of grief. I do have a lot of pain and sadness and all. And I think it bubbles up after the anxiety. I think looking back, I feel so sad. I guess sad. I think I just feel sad that I felt so preoccupied, just like
Would you say anxiety makes you preoccupied?
yeah, mentally
You're
preoccupied.
not in the moment.
Yeah.
You're somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you have a loud voice screaming at you.
It's like you're
I
just
don't mean literally.
you just are not there, I pity. I think I feel pity. So if that's a good word, I don't know. I think I feel pity on myself. Like I want other people to feel sorry for me. I know
Yeah.
that sounds weird
Yeah.
because in some ways I'm like, no, I don't want you to feel sorry for me, but I do want to be seen. I think probably what it is.
Yeah.
I want to be seen on how
I was gonna say what do you
not
mean?
how anxious I was and how difficult it is to just be on that electricity for that long. I want Because you feel like people don't see it when you're in it. You feel like people don't see you being
Right.
anxious.
And I don't think every night we were going to bed, you were thinking, I'm really worried about the future. I think it came out in little ways.
Yeah.
It came out in little like, oh, I just looked this up for three and a
Yeah.
half hours. Oh, I just whatever. Oh,
Yeah, I
I'm kind
want
of
like
sleepy. You used to say, I'm kind of sleepy. I'm kind of man, I had a hard time focusing at work. It's like it's not necessarily like every night it was like, I'm really worried that we were not going to have biological children. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It comes out in like the ethos
Yeah,
kind
like
of.
I feel tender towards myself.
Mm,
And like I want someone to sort of just hold me and be like, it's gonna be okay. It's
yeah.
gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel tender of how scared I was about everything, about the future, about family. Will we have kids? What will that look like? Will we be okay? I just felt so afraid that I feel tender towards myself then, and even yeah, anytime if anyone who's an anxious person, they sometimes can come across as anxiety provoking because they're anxious, and almost sometimes like, oh my gosh, you're so anxious, like calm down. But really, they need so much tenderness because they're so locked up. Yes, they're afraid, but it's a more electric kind of fear. It's not like, oh, I'm afraid of that. It's like an electric kind of frozen. And I just want to be so tender to that person and say, I get it. I totally get it. Like it's so hard you can't put it down. You're just stuck in it. And you just want to sort of hug them, you know? Yeah. I think about like even like the narrowing of the throat, like
Right.
someone sort of like struggling to catch their breath.
Right.
You almost want to be like, "What's wrong with you?" So you just want to
Right.
sit with them and just like hold their hands and breathe,
Right.
That's what I feel like I want to do to my past self,
Yeah.
and I want to help with other
Oh,
people,
I know. I know what I was going to say. What's it like that those worries that you had, some of those came true? We could
Yeah.
never have biological children. Like,
Mhm.
what is that like? Like, all those worries and all those things of like, what if, like, don't let it be this thing.
Yeah.
And then one of those things happened. What's that like?
So that's a weird thing about anxiety too, is it's not necessarily that attached to reality. It's the possibilities that give you anxiety. It's not the actual thing coming true. For me, I was like
Mm,
so terrified. What if we don't have kids? We never ended up being able to have children.
biological children, yeah.
But when that reality actually presented itself, I dealt with it.
Hmm.
What was harder for me was knowing if that was going to be a reality that I would have to accept or not.
Hmm.
You know, it wasn't necessarily like, it wasn't when you actually got the test back that said, oh, we're not pregnant. It was like, oh, that hit me like a ton of bricks, but almost like the anxiety sort of released itself a little bit then. And I was able to grieve a little bit more. It's more like waiting to figure out what will happen, you know? And then pretty soon after finding out you didn't get pregnant would come like, oh, is it going to happen again next time? So
Right.
anxiety was always leading up to something.
Hmm.
And I actually wanted freedom from that more than I wanted freedom from the bad news.
Mm.
The bad news was like, oh, but it was news. It
It was
was like,
something at
it
least it was
was,
grounding, even though if it was sucky grounding.
yeah, it was something, it was
Yeah.
something that you could do something with. It was leading up to it is what felt like torture.
I was the exact opposite. Like, I was like, out of sight, out of mind. We'll just get through it. Let's distract ourselves. Try to have fun, try to balance, try to whatever. Like, we'll deal with it on that day. We'll deal
Yeah.
with it on that day.
Yeah.
And then that day came and I was like, I don't think I've ever felt worse about me, about my situation, about life. It's so funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you mean. And I've never really thought about it that way, that it is the unknown. So almost having the known, even if it's painful, even if it actually is the worst news that you could get, that is almost for you, maybe not everyone with anxiety,
Yeah.
but like struggles or just as an anxious person. It's like, but for you, that was like almost helpful because it could give you something of like, now I don't have to almost worry if this is going to come true or not. Now I can just be like, it is true. It's
Yeah.
so funny. I would think that that would not be the case because of how much
Yeah.
worry, how much effort you put in. Maybe effort's not the right word, but like how much time you spent worrying if that was going to come true. I would think that that coming true would be the worst thing ever. But you're saying that for you and probably for others, not everybody, but for others, it's the in between.
I'd be interested to know what other people think. Maybe comment on this if you can, wherever you are. But like,
Yeah.
if you're an anxious person, maybe we'll put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
If you're an anxious person, is that how you are too? 'Cause that's how I am. Like, the bad news is like, okay, something happened and now I can embrace it. what would get me is like pretty quickly after that bad news thing would happen,
It's
I would
gonna
get
happen
I would get
again.
anxious about something else. But for
Right.
me, the actual bad things, they hurt, of course, but they weren't anxiety provoking. They
Hmm.
just hurt. It was like, oh, that
Probably
sucks.
in a way,
That sucks
because
so much. That hurts so much.
probably in a
You know?
way, anxiety, it sounds like, makes you not be able to grieve sometimes. So
Yeah.
almost having something tangible that you're like, now a reprieve, and I can actually grieve instead of just in the what if circle or in the
Yeah.
what if hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Like it
It's like
almost takes you out of the hamster wheel to be able to look at
Mhm.
something. It's funny. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. It's like
And for some,
it's like I go back to that basketball. It's just a mismatch. Like once you actually do get dunked on and you're like, oh, you're like, okay, well, I knew that was going to happen. But like sort of trying to defend against that is like, oh, I don't know. I'm trying to my hardest I can. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to. Then it happens. And you're like, oh, frick, that sucked. And that hurts really bad. But it's really the leading up to it. Maybe other people are not. I'm not saying that the bad things didn't hurt and they weren't horrible, but they didn't they didn't necessarily always make me more anxious. It was when I was looking out towards the future. Sometimes something bad would happen and it would make me more anxious. I would be like, well, that's not a good sign.
yes.
You know, like a test result would come back and be like, oh crap, that means this,
Right.
this.
Right.
But like like a really big grief sometimes would actually take me out of anxiety because it would be something I could grieve,
Yeah.
you know?
Tangible. And there's no what if anymore. It's the
Yeah, it kind of
reality of
removes
like,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's the what if is gone. It's like you cannot have biological children. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
There's no what ifs in it anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for us, we couldn't afford to keep doing it. So it was like very black and white to be like, nope,
Right.
we can't do this anymore.
Right.
You know? So that's funny. I never thought
Yeah.
about it that way. So, Doug,
Anxiety sucks.
is there any hope?
Yes.
Just kidding. I was going to say
There
one
is.
thing of like, what is the hope? Because I know that this is something that actually you deal with it still to this day. You just
Yeah.
had some health issues come up. He's 100% fine. But I think those health issues,
I had health anxiety, not really health issues, health anxiety.
correction, wasn't sure how much you wanted to say about it. Health anxiety. And you even said that it flashed you back to some infertility
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
So this is not something that like, I don't want it to sound like this is something that you don't deal with now.
Right. Oh, I'm not anxious anymore at all. I nailed
Gang,
it.
gang,
Got
done.
it.
Gang, done.
No, very much still part of my reality.
Right. And something that you work on and that you can have kind of episodes, I would say. Do you like the word episodes?
I would say sometimes it's better.
Flares.
Sometimes
Flares.
it's worse. Sometimes it's better.
Yeah. But something like health anxiety, you have a little bit
Yeah.
of health anxiety. Actually, you have health anxiety.
Thank you, Jesse.
I would
Yes,
say
I
that.
do.
I would say that. That you have health anxiety. And now with like a few like little medical things that have come up, it's like I can see that it comes kind of rushing back.
Right.
So like what do you do to help that? What is the hope? Is there hope?
Straight back to my basketball analogy, okay? Go with me on this. I thought
Here it
about this
is.
too as well. Shaquille O'Neal is coming at you. He's backing down. It's a mismatch. What's the only, you know a little bit about basketball, Jesse?
Yes, I
What's
do.
the only thing?
Massive Laker fan.
What's the only thing that you can do in that situation? You're not gonna beat the mismatch. Like you're just not. Like Steph Curry is not gonna stop Shaquille O'Neal in his prime. What do you do?
Run or get out of the way.
No, you were playing a game. You can't just get out of the way. What are you gonna do? What's the only thing to do to
Play?
stop that? No.
Get out of the way.
Think about it. What do you do with a really good player? How do you guard them?
Defend.
Yes, How do you stop someone? What'd they do to Kobe Bryant all the time? And Michael
Foul
Jordan?
him.
No. If you have someone who's like unstoppable, you have to do
Let him
what?
shoot. Let
No,
him shoot.
you have to do what? You have to do what? You got this.
Run away into the audience.
how do you
sit and observe the game.
How
now.
do you stop them?
You beat them at their own game.
No. You get maybe what?
Angry.
Maybe
sad,
another person and you.
double team.
We got there.
Now I get the Kobe Bryant reference. Okay, yes.
The only way to defend someone like that, you have to double team them. And it works. It actually works.
Right.
So you don't just leave Steph Curry on Shaquille O'Neal. You crash someone into Shaquille O'Neal. Now, two people are guarding Shaquille O'Neal. He's not going to make it. He can't score. Well, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Maybe Shaquille O'Neal.
I don't know if that's 100% guaranteed that's
well,
not
then you
gonna work.
triple team. You just keep adding more people to him, and then he has to pass because you can't score on 3 people.
Right.
Like you can't. Like that makes it so much more difficult. I just think the same is true for my anxiety. Sometimes I just get a mismatch, and I'm like, this thing is going to destroy me. I have to double team. I have to bring in more people. It's so counterintuitive because I'm like
Say
locked.
that again.
It's so counterintuitive. I'm so locked up and I'm trying to figure stuff out. But there is this little tiny voice. It's quiet. It's in the background. And most of the time I do not believe it. But that little tiny voice is yelling at me. You got to get more people. Get another person in here quick. Get another
What
person.
is the Men in Black? Get a decorator in here because damn.
It's just like I have to get someone in quick because my brain will ruminate, and ruminating does not help me solve any problems.
What did Brennan say on that one podcast?
Yes, Dr. Brennan Peterson said like our mind is not a good thinking machine when it ruminates. It's not good at solving those kind of problems through rumination.
I think he said our brain is not good at solving problems by itself.
Yes.
Especially mental health problems.
And especially in that anxious place, I need to co-regulate. So I need to bring my anxieties to someone who's not as anxious and talk to them and look at their face and try to trust their regulatory system, not mine. It's so counterintuitive, but I have to then come to you and say, here's what I'm kind of stressed about. Here's what I'm thinking about. It will be long. I will talk for a very long time. It will be about things that you probably don't care about. You'll be like, you are worried about this? You can't say that to me out loud. But
I've learned and I don't.
You will think like you are literally thinking about what your life is going to be like as a 68-year-old. Like there will be things that you're like, how could you ever think about that? But I have to give them to you. And then I have to look at your face and say, how is she managing? How is her nervous system managing this information? And then I go, okay, I'm going to trust that nervous system. I never do it perfectly. I never do it first try, but a little bit, I can a little bit trust. I'm like, okay, you didn't freak out that we won't have kids. And that means what will happen to us when we're older. You seem to be okay with that. So I'm going to trust that maybe I can be okay with that a little bit. Like I have to use your body and your nervous system to regulate mine. So that's a double team. Like you got to get another person in. You don't have to. That's what's helped me. I don't want to be prescriptive and say that this will work for you every time. For me though, it's totally worked. It's totally worked. That's how I've been able to quote unquote beat anxiety. I haven't beaten anxiety. I don't think you can beat anxiety. I think it's a natural part of what it is to be a human. And I'm a little bit more geared that way. And there's stuff in my past that makes me more anxious.
I don't know if I would say you've beaten it. I would say that you've gotten better with coping with it.
I know, but I like to say I've beat anxiety. I want the t-shirt that says I beat anxiety.
Uh-huh.
And then like, get crossed out and said like, I'm trying to beat anxiety.
I'm doing my best.
But to me, that's been the number one thing. So, and I guess the biggest thing I would say is if that's even interesting to you and you're like, but that sounds counterintuitive, I would just say same. Like that it for me is totally counterintuitive. Like, what do you mean I'm supposed to like tell someone all this stuff and then trust their nervous system? Like, what does that even mean?
Right.
I would say, yeah, I know. Does sound weird.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, how would I do that?
Yeah.
For me, tangibly, it looks like saying everything I'm thinking about and then just sort of like looking at their face and being like, do those things worry you? And for them to just, I'm like, they'll talk 50% of the stuff they say, I'm like, well, you're just not thinking about it correctly. But then the other times I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe that's not as crazy. You know, maybe that's not as, maybe I can trust that things will be okay. You know, the last thing I'll say, and I'm not even suggesting doing this, please don't do this, but sometimes this will like make me laugh. And I go, and it's like an example of what I'm talking about is I will have health anxiety about something, or during infertility, it was about infertility anxiety. I will go on Reddit and look at how other people handle situations like this. And it cracks me up at how non-anxious these people are. I will look on Reddit
So true. You did
about
that the other day.
okay, someone's going in for a semen analysis.
Right.
And I like think about it and all this kind of
And you
stuff.
prep.
I will go on
Reddit.
Reddit and see how people respond to a semen analysis. And I'm like, what? There are people out there like this on Earth? It's just shocking. You know what I mean? Someone will be like, oh yeah, I did it and never checked my chart and I left the state and then whatever, I did it again. I'm like, well, you can be like that? What? I can't even think of a good example right now, but just there are these
Well, I
people,
can think of an example.
there are these people on Reddit that are just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that like that heals everything. I think,
Right.
but that's a little bit what I'm saying is looking at someone else's regulatory system, how they handled it is
Right.
like, oh, I'm being anxious and every system I have is saying freak out, freak out, freak out. Then you read about someone, what they've done and you're like, how could they be
Right.
like that? You know what I mean?
Right. I was thinking when you got a colonoscopy,
Yes.
you were like, buy the book. And then you went and you read Reddit and people were like,
Yes.
oh, gang, I did this, I did that. And you were like,
Yes. So I recently got a colonoscopy and I was freaking out about it. And I was like, I did everything to perfection. And then, yeah, I went on Reddit.
just to be vulnerable about your anxiety. It was that guy from Dawson's Creek that passed away from colon cancer.
Yeah, you want to get as real as possible.
Yeah.
Someone like young people have passed away from colon cancer.
Yeah.
And my sweet aunt, who's still alive and wonderful, had stage 4 colon cancer when she was in her 40s. So all of a sudden I got really freaked out about it.
Yeah.
And I got a colonoscopy scheduled really quick. I just was kind of freaking out about it. I was like, I probably have colon cancer.
And after that, I forget his David Vanderbeek, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Like he passed away.
James Vanderbeek.
And you were like, I don't know if I can be on social media anymore. Like it's coming after me.
It just like got me really,
totally spiraled.
Triggered me. And like that infertility did the same. Like it's the same kind of thing. Like it happened at the same time.
Right.
So then I
and
got
you
a
were
colonoscopy.
like, buy the book.
I'm totally okay. Everything is good.
Yes, everything's
it's
fine.
great.
Everything's good.
It's awesome.
Thank God.
Yeah. And but like I was like, I'm so anxious about everything. And then I go on Reddit to look like, well, what do other people do? I did the like 5 days of like the perfect diet. People were like, oh yeah, I was at the fair and like crushing like deep fried butter the night before. I'm like, what? And then they're like, yeah, I got it. And I was still on the drugs, but then we drove down to the lake and I had like 9 Coors Lights. I didn't wake up for a day. It was crazy. I'm like, how are these people?
Which we're not condoning that is a good thing.
I just think it like Reddit, especially, like I just look and I go like, how could someone be so carefree?
Right.
And then I go, honestly, like that sounds amazing. Like to be that carefree. And then there's other people on Reddit who are like me.
Yes.
And I just think like that's, again, I'm not saying you should do that. I think it's just like there's a sliver in there of what I'm talking about of like
I think
that co-regulating, like getting other people in, like double teaming the situation and being like, let's both attack this. And then I'm going to look at you and go, wow, okay, so that's how you handled it. I clearly am being a little anxious here. I think I'm just going to like embrace and trust that I'm doing a good job, you know, and that it does bring some relief and I feel like I can be less anxious. Then it lets in the grief and the pain and the sadness and even the happiness and stuff. But that multiple people in it really helps.
Right. I know it's funny now looking at that like Reddit thing. It's like probably more of an anxious person would go to other people to almost like justify, like not justify, but like almost like, oh, you're anxious. That feels good. But you're saying almost the opposite feels good.
Yeah, who are these people on
Where
Reddit?
it's like,
who are these people? I mean, they're like just living
you were
wild
reading me
lives.
comments and I was like,
wild lives.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
I was
that we
like,
are condoning that
it was
you
like
should do that.
3 days past having a colonoscopy and I was like, is it okay? I was like Googling, like, is it okay if I have
like
one
beans?
one glass of wine?
Yes.
After 3 days? And these people are just like, well, I went on a bachelor party the day of. I'm like, what? Yeah, I played 18 holes of golf on the day of my colonoscopy. I'm like, how?
Right.
What?
Right.
So
it's funny. Probably your go-to would be almost to go calm your anxiety and get more reassurance of like, okay, you're anxious. Okay, this is what you did, and like almost go down that
Yeah.
rabbit hole, but almost doing the opposite.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like you're saying like,
But the
kind of
opposite
do
can
the
ha-
counterintuitive.
The opposite can happen too, though, where you can like go online and spiral downward. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is though, getting the multiple perspectives in is
Yeah.
like, oh, that's how you would handle the situation. And then
Right.
trusting like that feels like, okay, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to go.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to go do
Crush 9
that
Coors Lights with the day
on the
you got a
golf course the day I
colonoscopy.
had a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
But it does make me think, okay, maybe where I'm standing is a little anxious, and
Yeah.
I feel locked up by my anxiety, and I'm going to trust that I can relax a little bit, or I can just trust that like I can loosen my grip just a little bit
Yeah.
to let some of the other emotions in.
Right. So how do we close this?
The same way we started it, Jesse, together.
Together. Were you going in on your private plane? That's how we end it.
Yes, yeah, I got to get back to my hotel.
Yeah.
You know, no, I hope that this conversation's helpful. If you're a fellow anxious person, I love you. I care for you. And I think
nice to say.
what I'm advocating for is just more support, It's not it's not bad to get more support. That double team, like to help with these things that make us anxious. I remember that was like for me, it's happened lots in my life. Infertility is probably the biggest one. It happened in school all the time.
Mm,
Like certain classes would make me really anxious. Certain subjects I would get in my head about and be like, I am not going to pass this. And then
Mm.
I'm in trouble. And like, when I was
Right.
younger, like in high school and stuff like that. So I needed help. It's okay
And
to
there's no
bring in people.
shame in that to ask for help.
No, I think
Right.
that's the hard part is like,
Bringing someone in.
yeah, you think I just got to make it through on my own, but sometimes we have to double team certain things, like in basketball. That's a normal thing. When something is overwhelming, you add more people to it.
Right.
What's the Harry Potter like story in the end when they're like fighting Voldemort and they're like walking up and he's like, do you like need any help over here? And they're like, I think we got it. And they look out and there's just like thousands of curses coming at them and they're hitting that shield.
Yes.
And the guy goes, now that I think about it, you might want to tell Dumbledore to send 1 or 2 wands over here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
it's Professor McGonagall, but it's okay. That's what the line is. He says, tell Professor McGonagall.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Dumbledore is dead at that point.
Yeah. I was like, wait, caveat. Dumbledore is in a little island in the ground. No.
Sorry, yes.
Tell Professor McGonagall we need 1 or 2 more wands this side. That's
impressive. That's impressive that you had that. But I mean, it's like a reality of life. Sometimes there's things coming at us that we're like, might need to add a few more people here.
Right.
And that co-regulation, that trusting other people is amazing. I think this is my final thought. Online, on Instagram, sometimes people talk about anxiety and stress. And the solution to that anxiety and stress is like, let's lower your cortisol. Let's take some deep breaths. Those are all wonderful things. Lowering your cortisol, amazing. Taking some deep breaths, amazing. The type of anxiety I had, the fear and the dizziness of the future, the way that my body is just tuned sometimes to be anxious, the unique pains of our past, there's no lowering of the cortisol and deep breaths that just make that go away. We need help. We need support. So I think, yes, at times it is like a deep breath and like calming yourself down and, like getting to a place of calm, but that doesn't stop the mind sometimes. That can maybe calm the body, but we need other people to help us process in those spaces. That's normal. That's totally normal.
Right.
To need that.
Right. I think the hardest part is it's counterintuitive. It's the thing that your anxiety says not to do. Like even in Inside Out 2, it has been a really long time since I've seen it, but it's like, isn't it like she kind of like does it herself or like brings like one person or something? Anxiety, the character anxiety and
anxiety takes the controls and says like, I don't trust anyone else to do this.
Yes.
And then she
so that would be
goes into a tornado and you can't get in. And finally,
so that would be so counterintuitive to tap on her shoulder and be like, use joy, use sadness, use whatever. It's like it'd be so counterintuitive to solving the problem. Right. But isn't it that at the end they all put their hands on and they actually do join her and then it stops?
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah, you have to let those other emotions in. And what I'm saying, what maybe doesn't, I don't know if this actually happens in Inside Out 2, we should rewatch it.
Right.
Is I don't think that you can get there very easily just by yourself.
Yeah.
Like in Inside Out 2, those are all different characters in her head, but in our own selves, it's just us in there. You
Right.
know,
Right.
it's not as easy. We're not as like differentiated like that
Yeah.
in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just one experience. I think we actually need another person to come and literally say, tell me everything you're thinking about.
Right.
I'm like, okay, we'll get a cup of coffee
Right.
because I
Right.
got a lot to say. And then slowly by, piece by piece going like, okay, I see that. I see how you would feel that way. And like trusting that other person to like hold that and sit in that with you is
Yeah.
so it's no I just say it's normal. Like we need that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
We need that in our lives.
Yeah.
People who are anxious need that,
Yeah.
and it's okay to need that.
I could see that if you were in a partnership and you were both anxious, that would be difficult,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
to do. Like hard. You may have
Mhm.
to like, I don't know, really be like, what do you need when you're telling the other partner? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? What you need or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe go to a friend or something or whatever
And there's
to
like no light switches. It's not just like, "Oh, I'll just go do that." Pff, oh, did it perfectly.
right,
It's
right,
something
right.
you try
It's a
out.
practice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something you try out, like
Right,
a nice pair of pants you're looking for. And
right.
you just start trying on pants. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you try a pair of have you ever tried a pair of pants on and just go immediately like, nope.
I think every day after I graduated high school until this point, that was not leggings. What is I think it's um what's
That's
his
a
name?
crazy experience.
Elton John is
Yeah.
like, I will never wear denim again. And I'm like, jean. No, I think he says I'll never wear jean again. I'm like,
It's a
role
crazy
model.
experience. Sometimes you're like the pants aren't even on yet and you're like, these don't work.
Yeah,
You
no,
just know they don't work,
no,
you know?
no,
And I
no.
think people are like that and practices are like that. If you're an anxious person, you try something out and you're like, no, no, this isn't working. But then sometimes you do talk to someone and you're like, actually telling them all my anxious thoughts did feel really good, you
Right.
know?
Because I do
Sometimes you
think,
put a pair of hands on, you're like, I think these could actually work. And
right.
I feel like it's like, that's a weird connection.
Yeah,
But I just think it's that idea of trying stuff on. And
right.
sometimes certain people don't work. Sometimes certain people
Yeah.
do work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know why. Sometimes it's a driving and talking. It's a
Right.
dinner. It's a walking and
Right.
talking. It's sometimes you just got to try stuff out.
Right.
And some stuff works, some stuff doesn't.
Right. But the fact is that you're trying. You're trying. I
Yeah.
think that is if you were like, I don't know, like that is growth. Like just to try it out. Try on
Yeah.
those different pairs of pants. Like it
Yeah.
might not work perfectly, but hopefully, like we say in our groups all the time, when we identify what we need and then we can share with someone what we need,
Yeah.
the chances of getting the need met goes up. It's not that
That's
it's
totally it.
100% true that you will get if you identify
Yeah.
and say, it's not going to say that 100% of the time you are going to get your needs met. All it is that the chance of getting your needs met goes up.
Yeah. It's like at
The
bats.
statistics.
I don't know why I'm all
Yeah,
sporting analogies today.
we got to get you into like watching more Broadway.
I love Broadway.
I know. Something
It's
that is,
it's
I know it's always,
it's another audition,
yours
right?
is always sports war ships. That's always your analogies.
It's another audition, right? Like if you're going on
Yes.
auditions to make a choir, like if you stop going to auditions, the chances of you making a choir go down.
Right, right.
But if you keep going to auditions, like if you keep trying, if you keep
Yes.
singing in
The
front of people.
chances
Hey,
go up.
last podcast I used like a singing example. So there you go.
There you go. It reminds me of my favorite quote of all time.
Yes.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
So
Wayne Gretzky, sports analogy.
you're telling me now you're going to use a sports analogy?
Just saying. I'm just saying. But it's true.
Amazing.
It's true. It just, the chances of your need getting met go up. Because I think sometimes it sounds so like simple. Like we make it sound sometimes like so simple. Like just identify what you need and try it out and then it'll work. And it's like, no, it doesn't always work. That's the complicatedness of human beings. Because you're talking to someone else that has maybe their own anxieties, their own ways they connect to people, or their own ways they've never learned how to meet someone's need before.
Yeah.
But the chances just go up. The more we try, the more we practice, the more we do, the chances just go up.
Yep.
To getting your need met.
Like I think if someone who's feeling anxious, who isn't a more anxious person, if they highlighted someone that they love and like and thought they could do this with, if they said, I'm going to tell you just some of my anxious thoughts. I just want you to hold them, just hear them.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what that would feel like. It might feel good.
Yeah.
It might feel
Yeah.
good. That that person might be able to feel like, wow, okay, you're holding them. How are you responding to them?
It's so funny because
Yeah.
I am the opposite of you. I would be watching their reaction and try to, if I was in a really, I've totally had anxiety provoking situations happen in my life. It's funny. I would almost want them to tell me that they have felt that way too, to normalize that I would maybe be using them to co-regulate. We do that on accident. We don't even realize we're doing it.
Yeah.
But maybe I would be using them a little bit to like co-regulate, like, oh, they didn't think that was a big deal. I'm thinking that's a big deal, like something like that. But I more would want someone to be like, I know, same. When I have experienced anxiety, I feel the same way. I think that would give me relief.
Yeah.
Because I would be like, oh, thank God I'm not the only one, which is what we do in our groups all the time. Of
Totally.
like, that's what we're literally doing in our groups, to like put people in a similar spot, for me to be like, hashtag me to like hashtag same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have felt that way too. So that's what I would want to do, to tell someone, is I almost would want to, yes, use them as to co-regulate a little bit, but more like, are you the same? Do you
Yes.
feel this way too? You know,
Right.
and almost normalize that everyone, not everyone maybe is a born an anxious person or whatever, but it's like that I think I would just want some reassurance that I wasn't the only one.
I just want to say thank you for having me. It's been a wonderful time on this
Your
podcast.
plane is on the tarmac, and your yellow M&Ms that you only like requested.
I'll be back
Ready.
anytime. Loved visiting with you, and thanks for having me on.
You are welcome. Thanks for being here. Oh my gosh. I almost went like this to take off the
did.
headphones. We don't have the headphones anymore.
This podcast is put on by the nonprofit Uniquely Knitted. If you ever want to learn more about Uniquely Knitted, you can go to our show notes and click the link there. You can find out about the groups that we run. You can find out about sponsoring this podcast and becoming part of our monthly donor community. You can figure out all the other episodes we have, the blog posts, and all the things that we're doing for people who are suffering from infertility. Thank you for listening, and have a good night and good luck.
We paid extra for him to say that.